Hey guys, Yuliya here. So in this video I wanted to show you how to propagate coleus. And I have a number of lovely plants here that I overwintered in the plant room and in my basement. And right around this time in spring is when I start propagating my coleus, either for outdoor use in ground or in containers, or if I decide to leave some of them as house plants. And right now is just the perfect time to start propagating them. And doing so is a quite simple process, but there are a few tips and tricks that will make it much easier. All right, so I have this beautiful specimen right here that overwintered beautifully. I actually cut it down all the way up to here in the fall before I brought it inside, and all of this is new growth. So the important thing to know when you're propagating your coleus is where to cut it. And here, let me just look at the stem here. So you cut it below the node, and the node is where your leaves come out. If you don't have leaves, it's usually a slight bulging along the stem, and you cut it right below the node, either with sharp scissors or a knife. Just like this, and then you remove these lower leaves and you have a cutting. After you made the cut, there's usually this part of the stem that is sticking out like this. You can actually cut it all the way down to the following node, and they are lateral buds that are right here, and they will create new growth. Now, just as important as there is to know where to cut your cuttings, it is important to know where not to cut them. So here I have a good example. I have this stem right here. It's a little floppy, it's a little overgrown, but you can see right here, the stem is becoming woody, as opposed to right here where it's nice and green. So if you were to cut your cutting right here, you will most likely be unsuccessful in rooting your cutting. So don't use the stems that are hard or woody in nature, and go for something soft like this. So again, I'm just going to show it again, right below the node. Remove the lower leaves, and as you can see, the baby's forming here already. You can remove these too. We'll worry about that later. And actually, in this cutting, I'm going to remove the upper leaves as well. So we're going to put all of this cutting in water. Here is another example. Really nice green stem going down here, and then it becomes woody like this. So I can cut it probably right here. Take off lower leaves. And these leaves, another great cutting. Now, by taking these cuttings, I also rejuvenated this coleus, so it is much shorter, and once I put it outside, it will be much stronger and bushier plant. So there are a number of ways you can propagate these coleus cuttings. You can plant them straight in a pot with soil, but I personally prefer water propagation. And what you do, you literally take a jar of water or a glass of water, whatever the container you decide to use, and you put your cuttings in the water, and in a matter of weeks you will see roots start to form on the stems, and it is incredibly satisfying to watch. Here I have some coleus cuttings that are way overdue for planting. As you can see, they have a very well developed root system. They've been in this water propagation for about a month and a half, and they're definitely due for planting. So that's what I'm going to do now. Here I have a pot with a drainage hole, and what I'm going to do is fill it up with some potting soil and take my cutting, and you see how it started forming roots in a shape of that water glass already, poor thing. And what I'm going to do is drop it here. This is the root level right here, so I'm just going to keep it this way. And add some soil around it. You don't have to use a fancy pot like this. You could just use a plastic pot like this if you have a lot of cuttings, but I like to use something a little prettier. Okay? you can water it right here, the same water. So Coleus propagation is really that simple. You just take a cutting, you place it in a glass of water, and you wait for the roots to appear in a couple of weeks, and then you can plant it up in a pot with potting soil. Now, there are a couple of tips and tricks when you water propagating your plants. First of all, try to change your water every couple of days, because when the water becomes tainted, it really halts the rooting process. Another thing, they really like to be in the higher humidity, so misting your plants once a day helps. Also, they like to be in warm environment, because if you put this in a colder environment, the cuttings may rot instead of root. And another thing, keep them in a shadier location. Do not put them in the sunny windowsill, because they may become dehydrated. But that's about it. That's as simple as that. And I hope you enjoy these tips and tricks on propagating Coleus, and I hope you keep on gardening. If you have any questions, let me know. Thank you so much for watching. I'll see you next time. Bye. There is to know. Oops. This thing. Oh, where to cut your... And the reason being is that Coleus is incredibly easy to propagate in water. The second reason is that I can literally see when the roots start to grow. And the third reason, I don't have one. A number of lovely plants here that I...